What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome to Lines and Live. I'm your host, Justin Patrick. Joined with me is Mr. David Best. How you doing tonight, David?
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Man, we got a cool little show lined up for you guys tonight. We're going to have some fun as always, and we have Chris Walters, champion of the Tennessee Bass Nation Kayak Series event from this past weekend on Kentucky Lake, coming on to give us his spill on how he caught his fish this past Saturday under some relatively difficult conditions, I would say. A little bit of a, well, not really a little bit, kind of more of a major cold front blew through. It was freezing, dude.
It was cold.
Yeah, and you know, as always, the wind, I would say the forecast was pretty on par, but it kind of changed last minute. It was predicted like 30 or 25 mile an hour winds at first. And then and it kind of dropped. It didn't really pick up until later on in the day, but still it blew. And of course, in typical Kentucky Lake fashion, made it tough on us. So, but a lot of I think there was 15 limits caught out of I want to say around 50 or so anglers.
Yeah.
So not terrible. Some guys got on them, so that's good. That's always good to see. But Kentucky Lake, everybody knows the story there. It's going through some changes. So the guys that can go out there now and catch them and find them, man, my hat's off to them.
No doubt. Yep. And at 356, it's one of the harder times to fish it anyway. Yeah. So not overly surprised that it was a tough tournament, but it's coming on. It's going to get better.
Yep. What's up, David Walker? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, man. So, a couple of things you want to go over real quick. Just some reminders. We talk about every week, but just again, reminding everybody about the St. Jude Kayak Classic coming up May 29th on Enid Lake, running in conjunction with the. He's got the registration form right there for you. Running in conjunction with the St. Jude Bass Classic, which has been going on for 48 years. This is the 49th. Raised over $4.5 million for St. Jude. So we're proud and honored and excited to be running a kayak tournament in conjunction with that. The main tournament for the bass boat guys will be on Sardis and we'll be on Enid. But a couple ways you can register is that form that you just saw from David. You can get that up at his shop, or you can go to our website, linesandyakfishing.com, down at the bottom of the screen, and there's a tab created just for the St. Jude kayak tournament. It's got the mail-in registration form download and the rules for that tournament. So if you want to mail in your registration, get that in before May 15th. The 15th is the cutoff. And then the second way you can register is in person, May 28th, the day before, at the Batesville Civic Center in Batesville, Mississippi, just right down the road from Enid. So, and that's going to be between 2 and 4 p.m. So you got a couple hours window there to show up and get your registrations in. So, anyways, we're gearing up for that. It's close, So, if you're interested in that, it'd be for a great cause. But David, we're just talking, man, and you got some things going on up the store. You got some kayaks coming in. You got a great inventory right now. I saw about 3 or 4 different Motor Guide XI3s and a couple of Newport vessels.
80s. We got a lot of stuff laying around in the shop right now. I'm actually fixing to take one of those NKs and rig it on a New Canoe Unlimited just to have one displayed for people to look at. I figure it won't take long. That thing will be gone. Yeah. But we got a lot going on. We just got a bunch of new canoes in last week. I have 5 Hobies coming in Thursday morning, 2 PAs and 3 Outbacks, but 2 of those Outbacks are already sold. Sorry, guys. I do have a Papaya Outback still left that is not spoken for, so if you want it, you better grab it while you can. But I do have a Papaya PA 14 180 and a Camo PA 14 180 coming. So,
yep,
there's 2 of them there.
So good deal. So anybody new that's I don't know if you mentioned it, but this store we're talking about is S.Y. Wilson and Company. It's the local kayak dealer, and of course right there under the same house is Primary Tackle, one of our sponsors for this show, and just a great company that supports the local bass fishing community. Want to give another big shout out to our sponsor, Battleborn Batteries, for powering this podcast. Definitely, if you guys are in the market for a lithium battery for your NK180 or your motor guide, go and check out battlebornbatteries.com. But let's, I feel like we got it. I feel like we're going to have a lengthy show tonight. Chris has said he's got a good story for us tonight. So
Good.
we're going to go ahead and bring him in, guys, and get this show rolling. Chris Walters, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much. You got your little man there with you. So
yeah, this is my good luck charm, Fletcher.
There you go.
Yeah, I get. Is he doing a lot of fishing with you so far?
Oh man, he loves going fishing. We go out, bank, kayak, boat, whatever suits the day. He goes anytime he gets a chance to.
There you go, man. I need to get my little daughter. I need to get my daughter out there soon. She's been begging for it. But man, congratulations to you. We're gonna get to know you a little bit tonight. I don't, I'm sure we've seen each other's name around town a little bit, in the community, but never had a chance to meet you. So it's awesome to have you on with us tonight, and definitely want to give a big congratulations to you on your performance on Kentucky Lake. A lake that I just have an ongoing hate love relationship with. But you pulled it off, man. Had a great tournament. I believe you had 89. I got it right here.
89.50, I believe.
89.50. Yep. Second place, Kentucky Lake Hammer, Josh Stewart, 87. It's got to feel good to beat Josh. I think he entered in the tournament kind of last minute because I never saw his name in there. But yeah, man, it's always good.
Anytime he's in the mix, he's dangerous.
Yeah, he's got a few honey holes, that's for sure. But I want to just kind of read a couple of stats. Oh well, I'm sorry, I just lost my space there. Well, I was going to read some stats on you. You got 4 wins under your belt, quite a few top 10s, some top 5s and stuff. I'm just going off the stats on Tourney X. So you've been in this game for a while, man. But give us a little backstory about you and just kind of how you got started in the kayak fishing.
Okay, I started kayak fishing, I guess, in 2017. I've been fishing since I was his age. Started out catfishing with my dad 2 or 3 nights a week when I was real small. And I've done all types of fishing. I've catfishing, crappie fishing, trout. I've had big boats. I've had little flat bottom boats. I've floated rivers, salt water. We used to go down and pier fish. We've been out deep sea fishing. Basically 40 years of fishing easily. Yeah. And but in 17, I bought 2 Wilderness Systems Ride 115s, and me and my kids got out here on Nickajack Lake playing with them. And we were having a good time with those, so I ended up buying a 3rd one. And I rigged it up with a graph and made it more tournament ready, and started fishing some with a local club, Chattanooga Bass Yackers. They actually don't do tournaments anymore, but I had some success with them, and they were talking about the state tournament for Tennessee, and they were talking about TVKA, which I'd never heard about, and Steve and Ryan Lambert and Steve Owens running it. So I started checking into those, and I started fishing with them the next year, and I qualified for the state tournament, and it was just so much fun. I just had never quit.
Yeah. It's just about everybody we talk to, myself and David included, man. We have a blast out of these little kayaks. It's a totally different experience, but one, man, I mean, it's just one of those deals. Even if you don't catch them, you just have a blast, out there in these little boats. It's amazing how where you can go and what you can do in them. I see you're in a Hobie PA now. How long did it take you to, I guess, transition? I'm not going to use the word upgrade, but transition.
It took me a while to get used to that Hobie. I was having more success paddling in that Wilderness than I was in the Hobie for a good year. And now I'm actually getting even more comfortable in the Hobie. Still haven't gone to a motor yet, though. That's another step. So, I'm still
I'm still holding out too, Chris.
Yeah, it's is that a just kind of like wanting to stay to your roots type decision? I mean, it's not a bad decision one way or the other, but
I don't
do
know.
you still enjoy the paddling or pedaling? I mean,
Yeah, I do. I enjoy the exercise part of it. That
oh
was
yeah,
one reason I got into the fish. I thought if I can get some exercise and fish at the same time, that's a win-win. But yeah, I enjoy pedaling. The motor thing, my my roommate down at the Classic, Brad Golden, I was watching him in practice and during the tournament dealing with that motor, switching batteries out every day and always charging this and dead batteries here and there. And it's another element that you got to plan on for a tournament, especially.
yeah.
But I don't know. I just get comfortable in the boat, and it's hard for me to change.
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
look over at Justin playing with that little remote and standing up, fishing around and moving around, it does make me a little jealous. But I'm still into the exercise piece of it myself. So
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. You know, in the wind, that XI3 has been awesome. Just being able to kind of maneuver around the docks and whatever else. I'm not gonna say game changer. That's overused, but I mean, 'cause it's not a new technology, but it's been cool having it on there. But I can see your point, Chris. I mean, it's something else to lug around, something else to take off the boat and have to take into the hotel or the house and charge up and stuff. So I feel you. But hey, let me ask you this, because I'm always interested to hear how people go, if their fishing style changes. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if you're much of an offshore angler. I'm sure we'll learn more about that as the night progresses. But I mean, going from I remember the first time I tried to fish offshore in my old feel free lure, and by the time I got out in the middle of Sugar Creek on Kentucky Lake, I was wondering what I was doing and why why I was being dumb. But the winds were also blowing 25. But has moving to a pedal style, has it changed the way you fish? Has it any kind of way?
Oh, well, I can cover more water for sure with the pedals. I actually went back to the Wildy last year for the Spro Frog tournament on Gunnersville, and I used it to go over the top of some mats and get way back in there, and I won that one out of my paddle boat. So I still use it. I still use it some for certain situations, but the pedals I can definitely cover a whole lot more water with them.
Yeah.
And the fishing in the wind, like you're talking about, you can hold your position while you're fishing. And I had some issues with wind Saturday. It was kind of gusty in that I was in a shallow pocket, and it would be kind of calm there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, and then it would be like 15 to 20 mile an hour for another 15 or 20 minutes, just back and forth all evening. So
Yeah. So let's kind of start with the tournament. Did you you fish with TVKA now, so you're a little bit further out east. Is that correct?
yeah, that's correct. I live in Jasper, Tennessee.
Okay. So I mean, Kentucky Lake's not necessarily in your backyard. Have you fished it? I'm sure you fished it before for sure, but do you fish it pretty regularly, or you got a lot of history on it?
I've never fished Kentucky Lake until Saturday.
Oh, wow. Man, that probably served you well, to be honest.
Honestly, I almost didn't go. I was working night shifts all week, and I got off night shifts Friday morning. I'd already talked myself out of going, and then that night I talked myself back into going. So what I did was I slept Friday, got up, loaded my truck and everything Friday evening, laid back down about 10 o'clock, and then got up at 2 and drove out there and put in. And that was part of my map study too. I was trying to find where would be the closest for me to get from Jasper to Kentucky Lake. And so I ruled out Kentucky portion of it, and that cut it in half. I mean, it was 250,000 acres of water that we could fish.
Yeah.
So I had to narrow it down. So I ruled out Kentucky, and I wanted to fish the Tennessee River, so I ruled out Barkley, and I-40 was the boundary, so I just started studying from there north, and I found some shallow pockets that had a lot of boat docks in them, and I know in April here, that's a hot area when the fish spawn. Anytime around boat docks, any kind of shallow cover, and I also noticed there was a lot of stake beds in those sloughs, and I knew that'd be another good thing to throw at,
Yeah.
So I picked a ramp there that I could get to all those pockets, and my game plan was to start in one of the smaller ones to try and get a feel for it, and then there was a really big pocket that had like 70 docks in it, and I was planning on spending the day in it, but I got into that smaller pocket, and I started out with a square bill, just covering some water. Never got a bite, so I said, well, let me get my secret worm out. I said, they probably never seen one of these right here.
Okay.
Stick bait.
No, never seen that before.
Never get thrown up there.
Texas rig stick bait, and I caught a 13 and 3/4 pretty quick, and I fished on down a stretch of docks. I caught a 17 1/4, and about that time the tournaments, I guess, cut loose somewhere, and there was boats started coming in there. I think there was two or three boats come in there, and two of them came in hot, like that was their first stop. The tournament boats, and that was another clue for me. When a boat makes the first stop and they're coming in hot like that, they know there's fish in there.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, I fished on down that stretch, didn't get any more bites, and I came back probably 20 or 30 minutes later where I caught the 17. I caught a 19. So that told me right there, this was like 8:30. I had 3 fish. I had 2 good fish. I said, I'm just going to spend the day in here and just fish this one slough to death,
Yeah.
And
did you have service where you were at?
Yeah, I had 3 bars.
3 bars. I want to say I'm not a religious, Tourney X checker. I don't check the leaderboard up very much, but when I did, I saw Mike Cheatham's name up there at the top for majority of the day. It seemed like, but I may have missed you. So were you uploading your fish throughout the day?
I waited till I got a limit. There was a lot of boats coming in and out of there fishing, and I was kind of trying to stay on my stretch where I caught those, and then when they would move, I'd go try some different stuff. And I was trying not to, when I caught a fish, I was trying not to let them see me taking pictures and all that stuff. But I guess about 10:30, I had 5 fish, and I had 4 good fish. I actually got out in those stake beds, and I caught a 18 something off a stake bed on that worm. And I think my 5th fish came off a dock. So I submitted my fish around 10:30, and I looked at it, and I was in second behind Mike Cheatham. Not far behind him. I think I was 3/4 of an inch. Yeah. And went back to fishing, and this is the good part of the story here. From 10:30 to about 1:30, I put on one of the biggest choke shows you've ever seen. I had 4 good fish and a 13, and I knew if I could get one more good fish that I would be in contention to win it. And I think I missed 2 or 3 bites, just not setting the hook on, or being out of position because of the wind. I was telling you, the wind kept gusting, and I'd be spinning around and trying to set the hook over my shoulder and miss it. And just total frustration there for like 2 or 3 hours, just missing fish. And the whole day, there was boats coming in and out. They were throwing moving baits, spinner baits, and stuff like that. And I only seen one boat catch a fish all day. And the wind, like I said, when the wind got up, I kept thinking well, maybe they will bite a spinnerbait. And I started throwing. I threw the spinnerbait, I threw the square bill, I threw a lipless, and I threw a chatterbait all around, and never could. Had some just peck on it, but I never could get one to eat it.
Man, I was up in Kentucky. I was up in the Kentucky end, and it was the same story for me. I mean, I caught 3 kind of early, and then I just was struggling really bad. So I picked up the lipless and the spinnerbait and just burned them in the ground. And I mean, the same deal. I got a couple that feel like they just kind of swiped at it, but they were not eating it at all.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, so what was your water clarity like? Where I was at, it was pretty dirty. I heard a lot of guys say theirs was dirty as well.
Yeah. That was another thing. I started out with that square bill, and I really couldn't tell early in the morning I could tell had some color to it, but once it got where I could see the clarity, it was probably 1 foot clarity.
Yeah.
And I actually started out with like a watermelon or some kind of green worm, and that wasn't working. So I ended up putting that black with blue flake on, and that was what I caught most of my fish on.
So I'm sure you remember the national championship when Kurt Smits won it, doing pretty similar to what you're doing now. But I remember him emphasizing just how slow he had to move it through those stake beds. Was it the same deal for you?
It was random, really. I mean, I would say the most of my bites in the stake beds came when I would just bomb it right in there into the stake bed, and they would hit it as it was falling down through it.
Okay, just kind of
reaction. I got a few bites on the bottom, just working it around the outside of them, but that I'd never fished stake beds like that. We got a few on Chickamauga, I guess, but there was a lot in those sloughs where I was. I would say there's probably 20 stake beds in there.
Yeah, that's a big deal out here. I mean, Dave, you know better than all of us. Do they? I mean, there's a ton up in Kentucky. Would you say there's as many stake beds on the Tennessee side as there is Kentucky?
Oh God, yeah. At one point in time, from Paris to I-40, I literally had well over 1,200 stake beds marked on my graph in my bass boat. It used to be one of my main things I ran it. I mean, we would run them during the spring, and we would run them again in the fall. I mean, anytime those bass were moving in on those crappie, when they would get shallow, you can catch them in those stake beds. Some of the biggest bass I've ever caught out of Kentucky Lake have come out of stake beds.
Yeah.
So,
but there's got to be that. There's got to be that. I would say there's probably got to be that magic depth for it. So Chris, I mean, there's some stake beds that are kind of positioned a little bit further out, but I'm sure that your water levels weren't, probably similar, on the rest of the lake. But how much water did you have, in those stake beds that you were fishing?
The deepest ones were 5 foot, and I would say the shallowest ones were 2 foot. And early in the morning, the ones in the middle, like 3 to 4 foot, was where I was getting bit. And then later in the day, I got some bites on the shallow ones up in 2 foot.
Yeah, yeah. You were a lot better off than I was. Most of mine were out of the water. There was a couple that looked juicy, but they didn't produce. But although I didn't drag a worm through them, I tried the spinner bait and threw a jig. Well, actually, I threw a creature bait up in there, but nothing was going at it. But well, man, so do you fish Chickamauga more or Nickajack? You mentioned Nickajack a little bit earlier.
Tournament wise, Chickamauga and Gunnersville. There's really not many tournaments on Nickajack, but just when we're going after school or just taking the family or a quick trip, we go to Nickajack.
Yeah. So, in your experience on both of those lakes, what are some of the biggest differences between those lakes on the opposite end of the Tennessee River compared to Kentucky Lake for people that are not familiar with those?
Okay. Gunnersville and Nickajack, they don't fluctuate the water for the winter. There's no drawdown, and there's more vegetation. Underwater vegetation grows in those lakes. From what I've seen, of course, like I say, this is the first time I've fished Kentucky Lake. There may be grass.
I did not know that about Gunnersville. I didn't know they didn't draw the water down.
No,
wow,
it's stable. And I think everything happens quicker in those lakes as far as the spawn and the fish moving up shallow in the springtime, just
Yeah.
because the water is stable. Like Chickamauga, they're still not raised it up all the way, and Kentucky Lake was down, what, 3 feet last weekend?
4 or 5. What, about 5 feet? 4 or 5. Yeah.
355.5, and normally we're in the summer pool's 359. So we're
Yeah.
slightly over 3 feet low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that water moving up and down really moves the fish around a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Those fish especially. I've got 32 years experience on that, so you didn't choke. I did.
Well, David, I kind of, when he mentioned as many docks as he was around, I got a feeling, I'm sure you did too, where he was at.
I got a good idea.
Did you have some other kayak guys in there with you?
I saw one kayak come in. Like I say, I never made it to that big slough that had all the docks, but I was in the smaller slough, and I stayed in there and milked that little slough out all day. But there was one came in and fished really quick down a bank and went right back out really quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, I want to say that was probably Ashley, because he said he came out and fished a slough that had some stake beds in it, and I think he said there were some stumps in there too, but he didn't get nothing in it. But man, so 10:30 you had a limit. Did any?
Oh, there he is.
I don't know what just happened.
You blinked out for just a second, Justin. Start over.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I think I interrupted you in your story. Did you have any more upgrades after 10:30?
Yeah, it got to be about 1 o'clock or 1:15, and this part of the story will really give away where I was at to you two, I'm sure. But there was a little skinny canal that went from my slough over to another little pond area that was over by a park. And I kept looking at that all day. I thought, man, I think I can get through there. And I kept watching the boats. They weren't even trying to go through there. And I actually looked over there and I saw a kid with a crappie or catching crappie or something. He actually walked across it. So I knew it was really shallow. But about 1:15 or so, I thought, I am totally blowing this tournament. I should have been in the 90s with the bites I had, and I thought I'm gonna make that move. The wind was blowing really hard, so I went through that little skinny canal, and I had to raise my pedals and paddle through there, and my rudder was dragging. That's how shallow it was going through there with me paddling. But when I got over to that little pond, it was 2 to 3 foot deep, and it had about 6 stake beds in the middle, I guess. And I started just fishing around those, and about 1:30, I had a bite and set the hook, and it was just hung solid in that stake bed. And I thought, well, there's number 6 you missed. And I started pulling on it and going over there. Well, it starts pulling back, so I'm fighting the fish back and forth in the stake bed, and I luckily landed, and it's an 18 1/4.
Oh man!
And that calls that 13, and that was really the winning fish. And I submitted it after they cut it off. They had already cut off the standings, and it was so windy I couldn't get back out of that pond in time to do anything back out where I was. So I just went around and around in that little pond. I actually had another bite in another stake bed, and I set the hook on it, and it snapped my line. It felt like another upgrade that I could have had. That was with 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
So,
Gosh.
yeah, that 18 was what won it out of that little bitty pond there. There's a park, people fishing off the bank, and right out in the middle of it.
That part's eluding me a little bit. I'm not sure. David's got a smile on his face. It looks like he knows.
Yeah.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Hey, one of our viewers got a question for you. He actually, Chuck Smith, he caught big bass on that tournament, but he wants to know, how do you keep from getting hung up? The ones I ran across look impossible to get a bait down in between the rods. I'm talking about the stay beds.
Yeah, I did get hung up some. I think I only broke off once on getting hung where I couldn't get it loose. And then that fish broke me off in one. That's the biggest gamble. If you hook a good fish in there and it goes out the wrong side. But
Yeah. What pound test were you using?
I was using 14-pound fluorocarbon, Texas rigged, Cinco, and medium bait caster.
So next time you probably have that 20-pound on the reel.
I've got some with 20. I think you don't get as good of action out of that worm if you go that heavy.
Yeah. Were you using pretty lightweight, 1/8 ounce, something like that?
3/16.
3/16. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I that stake bed, David, you can weigh in, man. But that's that stake bed fishing when the water levels are this low, they can get up in there, man. But it sure seems like you kind of have to have, at times at least, especially during a cold front. Sometimes you got to have that right rate of fall, that right action, right size, bait profile, and all that kind of stuff.
And he was actually 3/16 is even on the heavier side of what I would fish. Typically, I fish an 1/8 ounce, and you just got to be a little bit more patient with it so that because what happens with those stakes, and the reason you hang up so much is if you have a heavier weight. If you look at those stakes, there's little slivers of splinters all up and down them. So you take a heavy weight and it goes down the side of that thing. Guess what just happened? Your line is wedged now as soon as you pull on it.
Yep.
So you want to go with that lighter weight so it doesn't stick in there quite as easy, so you can pull it through a lot easier. So I usually use an 8. 3/16 will get it down in that wind and help you keep it down. But I'll fish an 1/8 or a 16th a lot of times and just be a lot more patient. You got to take some time.
Yeah. Hey, I'll throw out a little tip for everybody listening. Kentucky Lake, the Kentucky end, you can actually get on there and download all the GPS locations for all the brush piles that they have. And I wish the TWRA was listening so we could tell them to do the same thing. But Kentucky's got it pretty easy. You can download that onto your map card or upload it to your map card. I think regardless of what kind of mapping you're using. But I tested it because this is the first time I fished on the Kentucky side where I was actually looking for brush piles up shallow, and they were pretty accurate. I mean, the GPS locations to the T. So.
Well, about 80% of the brush piles on the Tennessee end aren't done by TWRA. They're done by private guys. Literally, there are crappie fishermen down there that I was sitting at the mouth of Lick Creek one day, and they literally pulled up with a flatbed, a 40-foot flatbed full of trees and submergible crappie stuff, and they literally had 3 boats taking them out, watching us to make sure we weren't paying attention to where they were going. They did it under cover of fog, so nobody could see where they were dropping them darn things.
Yeah. All those guys that are pulling up to the ramp while we're putting in the morning, they're not out there joyriding, that's for sure.
No.
Hey, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break for one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to continue on this conversation with Chris.
This podcast is proudly powered by Battleborn Batteries. Let the power of lithium take you on your journeys across the outdoor world. Battleborn Batteries designs and assembles the industry's top choice for lithium-ion batteries right here in the USA. Reliable, safe, and long-lasting, Battleborn makes for the sustainable and lightweight drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries. Ready to make the switch to lithium and the switch to green energy? All batteries are in stock now. Shop today at battlebornbatteries.com.
All right. Thanks again to Battleborn Batteries for sponsoring this show, as well as Primary Tackle. Couldn't do it without our amazing sponsors. So guys, be sure to show those companies some love if you're in the market for either a lithium battery or your tackle needs. But so we got Chris Walters with us tonight, Tennessee Bass Nation Kayak Series champion on Kentucky Lake, and actually Angler of the Year points leader for that club. Chris, man, you've been telling us about Kentucky Lake, but you've had some really great success so far. You're leading AOI right now. I want to say it was either Center Hill or the Dale Hollow. You're in second or third.
I got a third at Center Hill behind the Goldens.
Okay.
Yeah, I got on a spinnerbait bite at Center Hill on largemouth in the bushes.
Yeah, it sounded like that was what those two guys did as well, the Goldens, or at least some of what they did. Let me ask you something about that. I want to say, I'm not sure if it was you or not, but somebody was throwing a 1 ounce spinnerbait, getting down a little bit deeper, kind of the bases of those flooded brush. Was that kind of what you were doing?
No, I was throwing I believe it was a 3/8 or a half ounce, maybe a half ounce with the Indiana blade and the Colorado blade. And I was more back in a pocket, like a spawning area. That guy that was throwing the 1 ounce, I think he was out on the main lake. And
Okay.
the Goldens were out on the main lake too. They were smallmouth fishing.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So, man, this is, I want to say this is the third year. No, correct me. How many years has the Tennessee Bass Nation been going? Is it the second or third?
Oh, I think this is the second year
Second
that
year?
they've really done the whole trail with the championship.
Yeah. I think they've kind of had a couple of events going on and stuff like that. And Steve Owens and Daniel Davis, man, they've been doing a phenomenal job. I mean, the path they're on, I could see Tennessee Bass Nations, Georgia Bass Nations getting as big as, Hobie BOS, maybe at some point. But with the rate of the sport, the way it's growing, man, I wouldn't doubt it at some point. But my hat's off to those two guys, man. They really put their hearts into it. But so I know with you being the top of the list right now, AOY, you're going to be at Gunnersville. You're going to be what's the other one coming up, dude? I'm losing it right now.
Douglas,
Isn't it?
Douglas, yeah. You plan on being at those other two?
Gunnersville definitely will be. That's right here. I've got a lot of time on Gunnersville. Douglas is another one I've never been to, so I don't know. I'll see where I'm at after Gunnersville. I definitely don't. I think I'll have to improve my score to win AOI with the quality of people that are fishing these. But
and they take your best two finishes. To my
best
understanding.
three.
Best three?
Yes, best.
Okay.
Three out of five.
Okay. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty competitive tournament trail organization. I mean those guys are doing great jobs, and I mean there's a lot of great anglers in Tennessee. How long have you been doing fishing with TVKA?
Since 18, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
2018.
And you're fishing with a bunch of sticks out there.
Yeah.
So
man, they're the ones that keep pushing me to get better. I mean, they're always at the top of their game. We do a 3-fish on our local tournament, and you got to have at least a 20 or 21 to do anything. You got to have some big fish on that 3-fish tournament.
Yeah.
This Bass Nation deal, it fits my schedule and my lifestyle better than any of them, really, because with my work schedule and everything I've got going at home with the family and stuff, I can't travel all over the country and do two-day tournaments, and I don't have enough time off from work to do that. But just doing five tournaments and a championship locally in Tennessee, one-day tournaments, that's perfect for me.
Yeah, I would say it falls into a lot of people's wheelhouse for accessibility, what they can do. I'm getting to that point myself, Mike. I was telling you guys, my 4-year-old daughter, she's going to be starting kindergarten in August, so we'll see how that pans out for my fishing. But man, so Kentucky Lake, first trip out there, you win the dang thing. You showed up, you showed out, and you got the same story as I do. I didn't have any pre-fishing, so I guess my excuse is no longer valid for why I didn't catch them. But
yeah.
But man, what's your thoughts on Kentucky Lake? I mean, I know you're in a small area, but of course, whenever you win a tournament, you always want to go back. But
obviously, I've only seen a fraction of it, but there was, I think, 5 fish over 20 inches brought in, and there was the majority had a limit, I think, 5-fish limit. So I mean, it was. I don't see anything wrong with it myself. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have anything to base it off of. You guys have fished it your whole life probably, but
Oh, David more so than myself. David, let's talk about that for a second, man. You know the lake. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on how it was 15 years ago to what it is now? Do you think the carp are really the main issue, or what's your thoughts on that?
It's a little of all of it. I mean, no, I mean, the Kentucky Lake has gone through cycles. I mean, look, I fished it since I was 20 years old. So I've got 32 years, almost 33 years worth of experience on it now. So I've seen it when 12 pounds would win a tournament. I've seen it when 25 pounds would win a tournament. And I've seen it when it's gone through cycles. I mean, there was a time, I don't think it's the carp as much as it's the fact we have had no grass in about 4 years to amount to anything. The carp did not help, of course, but the fish will get used to that. I mean, the carp are a problem, and that is a piece of it, but not having grass is a big chunk of it. I mean, that hurts it as much as anything. And when we see downward cycles at Kentucky Lake, it's usually because we don't have grass. And so, I mean, like when I first started fishing it in 1989, 1990, you could go to the grass and you could find a clump of grass that was out against a little bit off of the rest of it, and you could go around and catch 100 fish. Well, 5 years later, that grass was gone, and you wouldn't catch 100 fish anywhere. And we went through cycles where, it was hard to catch 15-inch fish. And then we went through cycles about 10 years ago. We went through a cycle when if you went and you didn't catch 30 fish over 15, you had a terrible day. So, I mean, it goes through those cycles, and we're seeing a trend up right now. I mean, I caught more, 13 to 15-inch fish last year than I have any time in the last 5 or 6 years over there. So it's going to get good again soon, I think. But we really just need a patch of grass to start growing, or a big one. A
Really big one. Yeah.
100 miles worth would be preferable. But what we've seen, though, is an uptrend in the smallmouth on Kentucky Lake.
Yep.
And I think you attribute that to the lack of grass. So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of like one species moves out, one species moves in. Those largemouth, they didn't, it's like, I mean, it's a huge lake. Like, I mean, it's not like, it's completely fished out. And I mean, carp are not predatory, species. So, they're not eating the bass. Now, I mean, there's been theories that they're just inhaling the hatch and stuff like that, not needing to, but I don't know. Man, it's a massive lake.
We just move the fish around. We ain't figured out how to catch them around for the most part.
Well, Chris knows how to catch them.
Chris knows how to catch them.
Doc's with the Cinco.
I just made a bad choice and only had 3 hours on Saturday morning, so that's on me.
Yeah. Well, this leads me to my next question, Chris. So, talking around with some guys at the check-in and whatnot, it sounded like if you weren't around bait, it didn't seem like you were catching them. David wasn't around bait. I wasn't really around a lot of bait.
There was no bait where I was.
A number of guys I talked to were saying that if they weren't around bait. So I don't know if you run a graph or not. I'm sure you do. But did you have bait around you?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it was a lot though. But when I would go down the stretches of docks there, occasionally I would go over a ball of bait, and in the very back of the slough, as the water warmed up and it got windy, there was some real tiny bait fish back there in like a foot of water. But there wasn't any. I don't think there was any fish chasing them. It was just some bait fish flicking around back there.
Yeah. Shoot, that may have been all that was needed. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the other piece.
There was definitely some bait in there.
Yeah, there's always bait where he was.
Yeah.
There's almost always bait where he was. I know exactly where he was. It's about to drive me absolutely insane. It's on my three count list, and I picked wrong.
I whenever I signed up for this, another reason I did decide to go was because I was in contention on the points, but I saw both of your guys' name on Tourney X, and I thought, man, one of these two guys will win this thing, because I listened to one of your other podcasts, and I think Justin was had this tournament pinned for the time of year and everything.
That's more. Well, I'm with David now. When the water levels are up, I love Kentucky Lake, because then you can go out and you can flip bushes, and they really get up there. All those bass are just suspended out there over nothing. Now you got something to catch them off of. But yeah, he's about to tell you.
If you watch the TVA app and you see the lake go over 360 in the next month and a half to 2 months, just get in your truck, drive over here, and you'll learn what it can be.
Yeah.
It can be the funnest lake in the freaking world at times. I have literally, and I mean, when it gets up right, I mean, I actually have a tournament there on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and I am praying that we get about 3 more foot of water because it'll be a fun weekend if I do.
It's coming. Pickwick's at 413. It's 1
Beautiful.
foot below full pool. It's actually pretty close to 414, actually. But
did you guys fish on the Kentucky end of the lake?
No, I was literally less than 4 miles from you.
Oh, okay.
I did. I went up to Blood River. I've never fished it, man. I've always wanted to. It looks good, but when I got there, it wasn't. It would have been the deal. It would have really worked out if the water levels were up. But man, it was so shallow. It ended up being a lot shallower than I realized at Winter Pool. But yeah. So I don't know. You hear a lot of people talk about the South versus the North and stuff like that. I don't buy into that just a ton because it's not like it's 2 or 3 states and separate between the two. You're talking about some mileage, but as far as the weather goes, it should be about the same. But man, you hear about people talk about when the water gets up, people used to travel from all over the country to come out to Kentucky Lake to flip bushes, just to flip bushes. But
I mean, yeah, and then you still can go flip bushes and catch a crap ton of fish this time of year when it's up high enough.
But I'm like you, Chris, man. I was sure as I'll get out that a lipless or a spinnerbait was going to be the deal with that wind.
Yeah. I killed a good over an hour throwing moving stuff, and it wasn't happening. And I was watching the boats too. They weren't getting bit on their moving stuff either. So I kept going back to the worm.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you kind of got out there on a different little stretch. I imagine kind of I'm going to guess kind of Main Lake-ish. There wasn't very much current coming through that area, was there?
I don't believe so.
No, they should have been wind. But
there was probably some wind. I mean, yeah, it got rough out there on the main body. It was white capping out there several times, but I stayed pretty well tucked in where I was at, and it worked out.
So about the docks, was there any kind of special, I guess, pattern? I mean, sometimes, people can kind of get on a dock pattern, but there's always kind of like a pattern within the pattern. Was there anything like that for you, or was it just pretty random?
A little bit early in the morning. I made that one pass, or actually 2 passes, and I caught those 3 fish early. And right away, I noticed they weren't right up on the bank. They were a good, I would say 20, 30 feet out off the bank in like 4 foot. And that was another thing I noticed. The boats were throwing up on the bank pretty much, and they were keeping their boat where I had got my bites, really. So I was early in the morning. I was fishing out. Of course, it was cold that morning, so that may have had them off the bank. And then later in the day, like I said, I had some decent bites in 2 foot on those stake beds. I think the fish moved up a little bit as the day warmed up. Yeah,
it was kind of weird for me. I mean, my 3 fish came. There was one dock that had about 4 or 5, or about 5 or 6 Christmas trees buried, or it looked like kind of like half or the tops of Christmas trees, because they were only in like 1 foot to 3 feet of water. But I mean, and that was early. I was thinking along the same lines as you. Is probably the shallow bite wasn't really going to be there that early in the morning. But I think they were really positioned there more because of the wind, because they were kind of on the back sides of those trees. But man, it was like 15, 20-yard stretch, and there was 3 in there, and there was none anywhere else, at least that I couldn't get bit on. But Yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of sometimes look to the crappie anglers, to kind of see what they're doing a little bit. I mean, of course, bass anglers as well, but man, those crappie anglers, that's all that was around me, and they were just out there over about 15 feet of water, just spider rigging around. So they weren't no help. So what's up next for you, Chris?
I actually just rigged a rod for Saturday. We're going after the Chickamauga Elite Series sore lip bass. It's a new species.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That'll be fun.
We got our third TVKA event on Lake Chickamauga. It's the upper end of the lake from 60 Bridge, which is there around Dayton, up to Watts Bar Dam and up to Hiawassee is the boundaries.
So let me ask you this. I've noticed that, because, out here in West Tennessee, most of our lakes here locally, at least, are 600 acres or less. But, we got Kentucky and Pickwick, of course, that we go to quite a bit. But I was always wondering why you guys kind of break it down into boundaries and not just open up the entire lake for each one of y'all's events.
That's a good question. I think he does it just because, some of the Dayton guys, they pretty much only fish that Dayton area or some of the guys up around, the dam part of it. And then you got guys that only fish the lower end. And that, when you break it in half, that kind of forces people to fish out of their honey hole area, at least for one tournament.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So, well, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you something else about that, but you mentioned the sore lip in Chickamauga. I was a little disappointed, man. The Bassmaster event wasn't as juicy as it could have been.
It was tough, even on those guys. I went to the weigh-in on Sunday. The top 10 came in, and I think only 4 had a limit, and there was like 11, 2 of them, or there was 3 11-pound bags, and then Jason Christie had 15 something for the win. So they struggled, especially that last day.
Yeah.
They caught some 9 and 10 pounders, which they always do that, but
Oh yeah.
it was hit or miss on getting the bites. But it's going to be tough this weekend. I mean, they hammered it for 3 or 4 practice days, and then 4 tournament days. So they don't miss anything.
No, man, and y'all's the night tournaments up there, they start early in the year. Like, I mean, Pickwick, Kentucky. I mean, there might be a couple here or there, but that typically doesn't pick up until like summer. But I see there's one dude that I follow that lives out there. He's fishing night tournaments like March. Stuff like that. I'm like, good, man, y'all are it's way too cold. But from I mean, you live out that way, what's your opinion on just kind of the life of the lake? I mean, is the pressure getting to it? Are you noticing that personally?
Oh, there's no doubt. The pressure changes everything as far as getting bit, but the fish are still there. I talked to an old guy that was fishing there at Dayton Boat Dock while the elites were practicing, and he was tying up to the same laydown there where they were taking off every day and crappie fishing, and he was catching yellow perch and crappie. But he said he decided to drop a bluegill off the side of that laydown, and he started showing me pictures of the largemouth he had caught on live bait of that laydown. I mean, it was 7s, 8s, and he said he hooked one that looked like it was 12, and it straightened his hook out. So,
Golly.
so they're there, but they've seen every single artificial bait that you could possibly throw by them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure y'all's water levels are going to be coming up.
It's coming up. It's still about 2 feet low.
Yeah. So, is there? I mean, y'all got y'all definitely have the grass there, but is there a lot of flooded brush and stuff like that to get into?
Oh yeah.
When the water comes up, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. I think 2 or 3 times. So not a ton of experience on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
David don't like it. He won't sign up for the Hobie event, or he didn't.
No, well, I was going to, but I missed it because I wasn't paying enough attention.
Oh yeah.
You know, in 9 minutes, it's kind of hard to screw up with 9 minutes on the
yeah, if that. Are you in on that one, Chris?
I did. I got in. I think I hit register at 12:01, and I was like 130 something person in it.
God, 12.
I was doing a trolling motor install, and about that time, start getting phone calls about 15 minutes in. Hey, did you get registered? Did you get registered? I was like, no. Let me try and register real quick. Oh, you're too late.
It's at 2. It was at 2:06. There for about 3 or 4 days after the registration cut off, and he eventually took them off. But what do y'all think about this new rule? I want to get both of y'all's opinion on it.
I love
Chris,
it.
Chris, I'm not sure if you're familiar that Hobie changed the ruling on how you can get your money back for all these people that are registering like in the first minute, and they're not even sure if they're going to be able to fish the tournament, and then they're backing out, and getting their money out, back, and then he's got 20, 30 spots he's got to fill. So David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think within 24 or actually a week out or something like that, or 2 weeks out, you don't get your money back at all.
Within a week out.
Week out.
And I mean, and the reality of it is it's not fair to AJ. It's not fair to the guys running the tournament if you're entering and knowing good and well that you may or may not be able to fish. I get that there's some people who maybe plan on fishing, but then work keeps you from it or something like that. Look, I had to come back to work Saturday. I mean, I had to be back here at 1 o'clock. I didn't get to fish our old tournament Saturday, but when you're just registering to be registering just to make sure you can, you're negating somebody else getting to go. And I mean, like, I'm not going to get to go. My plan was to fish all of them this year. I'm going to Susquehanna. The only ones that I'm not going to end up fishing is Chet and Sonny Cooper. Wasn't going to Sandy Cooper just because of time frame.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the only one I'm not going to get. I'm not going to get to fishing. There's one I was going to plan on fishing, but I'm fishing everything else because. And I guarantee you, come close to time, just like you follow, just like the other ones, we're gonna have guys dropping out.
Oh well, I think he's got a handful of spots he can't fill. He can't backfill for Eufaula.
Yeah,
right now. So
maybe I get lucky and I get to fish Chick. We'll see.
Yeah, you might. I don't know though. Chick's kind of that one. It's like, man, Brandon, our buddy Brandon, he didn't get in on Chick, but he was like, dude, I'm still going. I just want to fish Chick. So he's driving from Cincinnati, Ohio, just to fish. So, but well, Chris, man, dude, it's been awesome having you on, man. Anything else you want to share about your experience on Saturday?
Oh, I always cherish a big win like that because you don't ever know how many of those you're going to get. But I'm definitely going to be gearing up for the next one on Gunnersville, and hopefully can keep the AOI race competitive there.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for you, man. We'll be chasing you, but we'll be rooting for you. Yeah. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be at Gunners, but I think I am. I was looking, my schedule kind of got changed up today because I forgot that the Bassmaster Kayak Series they have that week out cutoff time. So I was planning on fishing Grand Lake this weekend, and I didn't get in on the registration on that because I procrastinated. But yeah, so it kind of changed my schedule a little bit. But I think now probably I'm going to ditch the Bassmaster and just focus on Tennessee and the Hobie stuff. But so hopefully I'll see you at Gunnersville.
Yeah, that one's going to be big. TVKA is running a tournament in conjunction, and I think the North Alabama, the NACA Club is going to run one in conjunction, and maybe one other. I don't know.
Dang, so we can triple dip on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of people in that one.
You're excited, David. I know you like some Gunnersville.
Well, I can't go because I'm fishing the tournament Kentucky Lake the first weekend of May. Then I have Broken Bow the second weekend of May. We have the St. Jude tournament the last of May. So I have to work sometimes. I do run a retail store, actually do. So I have to work. I have to be here on the weekend some to give my girls a break. So
Well, you can't remote work. You're the manager, dude.
No. Remote work does not work in retail.
No, it don't work in retail. I feel you. Well, man, Chris, dude, I greatly appreciate you coming on tonight, and it's been an honor and pleasure getting to meet you a little bit. Not so much in person, but we'll make that happen next time. But
Oh, yeah.
I always want to give everybody the opportunity. If you want, shout out your sponsors or anything like that.
My wife, number one, for letting me go, and my club, TVKA. That's one of the best clubs out there. Man, those guys, they're hammers, and they keep pushing everybody to get better. And the guys running it get all kinds of great sponsors. Dugout just always has tons of raffle stuff for us, and all of our local bait companies, Hog Farmer, Southeast Tackle, Driftwood. Picasso, we got all kinds of raffle stuff at every event. So if you guys ever get a chance to fish one of ours, jump in there because they're fun.
Yeah, right. I'll definitely be dipping in on that one at Gunnersville for sure.
There you go.
Hey, man, I don't know. I might run out there to Chick this weekend with y'all because Grand got canceled for me.
Yeah.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, David. When I realized that I missed out on that tournament, I started looking to see what other tournaments were going on this weekend.
I'm not surprised at all.
I'm still in there. I like to travel and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, come on.
yeah, we'll see. I might get out there with my dad. He's been wanting to get out in the glitter boat and do a little fishing. So we'll see. But man, Chris, dude, again, enjoy it. Congratulations again on your win, and congrats for leading AOI points. It's it's a big deal. It's a big deal, man. This is an awesome state with a lot of awesome anglers. So you definitely making some waves. But Chris, we'll catch you soon, my friend.
All right.
Again,
Thank you
for coming on.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to petition for the next Kentucky Lake tournament that we have next year because I know there's not going to be any more coming up this year, at least in the next month. But I'm petitioning that we wait until late April or early May so those water levels can come up so we can flip some bushes next.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah,
I most heartily agree because I mean, we can get into the bushes this time of year occasionally, but it usually
you got to have that rain.
You got to have some rain, and it's usually early May at the earliest. And so, but anyway,
yeah,
it was fun. I mean, it was a trip. I got to get out of the house and get out of the store for a few hours at least. So
yep.
I just sent you his location.
No, you didn't. I got a feeling I know, especially the question about the current. That was kind of more or less. Well, actually, we'll just leave that alone. I'm pretty sure I know where he was at, but I'm not gonna. If he's fishing in the tournament, I probably won't go back down there. I don't know, man. I just haven't connected with that area. I mean, especially when the water is low like it is. I just haven't. I got one spot that I got confidence in, but I don't know. I mean, it's just such a big lake.
It is.
It's so you got so much water to choose from. I mean, really, at this point, in my experience with Kentucky Lake, which doesn't, it doesn't even come close to how much you have on the lake. But I just got to a point where it's like I'm just going to throw a dart almost and see where it lands, and that's where I'm going.
Well, I had too much on my brain for that one. So anyway, it is what it is. I was tossing up so many different places, and where he was one of them, and so it really hurts my feelings. So anyway, it is what it is.
Well, hey, before we get out of here, just want to say what's up again to everybody in the comments. David, sorry guys if I missed any of the comments. Seth Breckenridge, what's up, my friend? Russell, good to see you on here, dude. I hope your hand's doing better after those quarter zone shots. Chuck, again, congratulations on that giant that you caught out there. Man, I saw that on the leaderboard. I was like, here we go. Chuck's on it. Caleb Tosh, man, one of our recent winner of a Battleborn batteries that we gave away. 75 amp hour. So good to see you on here, buddy. And Clint, man, as always, good to see you on here too, buddy. So guys, man, great show tonight. Enjoyed talking with Chris, learning a little bit about what he did to catch his fish on Kentucky Lake. And we're going to get out of here.
Sounds good.
We'll see y'all later.